So my guy Lonzo had himself an interesting season. His chemistry with Zion was really good once Zion was actually playing. His threes saw a noticeable improvement. Lonzo, of course, getting to, 38% on about 6 a game, and we've seen his form get closer and closer to just being a straight up and down motion rather than the herky-jerky thing that it was when he came into the league. Even then, his jumper was never horrible. It was always below average, but he was never Andre Robertson levels of being a non-shooter. So, to see the almost overnight transformation of his shooting, it's pretty cool. I mean, his standstill shooting, his catch-and-shoot stuff, and his eagerness to attempt those shots all look really good. Now, the one thing you could look at to see if he can keep that up would be his free throw percentage. It's still not very good. It's in the 50s. Granted, he doesn't take too many, and that's something to talk about, but it seems like the shooting's going okay for Lonzo, and given the attention that Zion, Brandon Ingram, and Drew Holiday can create for themselves going up against defenses, you would imagine that Lonzo is going to have a lot of opportunities to attempt open threes, and that's good. That's great. It's a big reason why his true shooting percentage improved so much this year. I think it got up to about 52-53%, something like that. I think another thing to talk about with Lonzo is his general aggressiveness. Well, actually, I do want to point out first, the Pelicans were better with Lonzo in the game than without him, and that's been a common theme for him basically since he arrived. If you look at his lineup data, it's always been positive. He's always made his teams better, and I think he kept that up this season. His ability to make the right play all the time and play well defensively. He didn't start out this year hot defensively, but I think he eventually got it going, and those are the reasons why I've always liked him as a player, and it seems like the rest of his game caught up to that a bit this year. He still has some strides to make, but he does still do those things, and I think that should be noted. And when we talk about that aggressiveness again, so I think we saw at times from Lonzo this year a little bit more assertiveness in the full court. He still doesn't do it as much as you'd really like him to in the half court. Sometimes he does just kind of float around, even if he's still making a positive impact. But I think the big thing is the free throw attempts. To me, for Lonzo to be at his best, he's got to get to at least 4 or 5 free throw attempts a game. The thing is, even as he was better this year, his free throw attempts just never really went up. And I don't know if that's a lack of aggressiveness, lack of ability to get to the rim like that. Maybe it's still a little bit of when he passes out of a potential layup opportunity or whatever, because he was doing that when he was drafted, and he still kind of does it now, I would say. I don't know if it's any one thing, but I would like to see Lonzo attempt some more free throws, because I think that's how he can really get his efficiency to an above average level with the threes. I mean, he takes about 1/5 of his shots. Well, actually, let me say this. Another thing about Zion. Because he's got Zion setting screens for him now, you would imagine that'll give Lonzo some more opportunities at the basket, because teams are just going to have to swarm on Lonzo when he's rolling, or swarm on Zion, I should say, when he's rolling. But anyway, if we get to Lonzo's shot attempts a little bit more, about 1/5 of his shots come from mid-range, floaters all the way out to long two-point range. He's not good at any of it, and either he's going to have to get better at that stuff, or he's going to have to shoot a lot more free throws. I don't know which one it's going to be. Can he be a pull-up shooter? I don't know. That might be a little too much to ask for. I will say, looking at some of his pull-up attempts this year, it's not as awkward and as bad as I would think it is, but I don't know. That just might be a little too much to ask of Lonzo to be able to hit pull-up 17-footers efficiently enough. I do think he could make floaters. He is not good at them, like the 3 to 10 foot range, but maybe he can have a bit of a Tony Parker, Mike Conley before Utah-esque floater game. I don't know. You would hope that it's a combination of that as well as shooting more free throws and just taking that extra dribble or that extra step to the rim and not being afraid of contact. Don't know. There's a chance Lonzo was just capped out at like a 13, 14-point scorer while still being a good player overall. But we'd like to think he can do a little bit more. Now, if we talk about his finishing at the rim, it was really good this year. He was at 62% at the basket. In his rookie year, he was at 50%. So that's all going in the right direction. I mean, his threes and his finishing at the rim both have gotten to above average. And I don't think it was a guarantee for both of those things to happen in his rookie season. So that's great. Lonzo is certainly improving. But I do think there is still some more progress to be made. But I think given the team he has around him now, and like I said before, guys who the defense has to pay attention to, you think that'll open up some more opportunities for Lonzo. Hopefully we'll see more Lonzo to Zion full court plays as well. Other thing to think about with Lonzo is his free agency, or his restricted free agency, because he is going into the last year of his contract. What's he going to get? I feel like my gut tells me it'll be a contract of $15 to $19 million a year or so. So maybe like 17 for 4 on average. Something like that. I mean, there's a chance somebody overpays for him. We'll have to see. I mean, projecting what the salary situation is going to look like around the league a couple years from now with everything going on right now is pretty much impossible. I mean, if the cap's going to be lower, then there's a chance that Lonzo could be re-signed on a hell of a bargain. I don't really know. It could make it very difficult for the Pelicans to keep him, especially because I think they're going to max Ingram, and I think they should re-sign Derek Favors. So that's something they're just going to have to think about. I do think JJ Redick's contract is up after next season, so that's some money to come off the books. Don't know. That's going to be an interesting thing. And I could give you the strict numbers, but again, because I don't know exactly what the numbers are going to be with the salary cap and the luxury tax and all that in a couple of seasons, or just after next year when Lonzo is going to be a restricted free agent, I just feel like it's kind of tough to project. Now, could the Pelicans choose to extend Lonzo this offseason as a sign of good grace towards him, and also you just might want to secure him now and they like where his career's going? Okay. That's definitely an option as well, and one that I don't think is ridiculous. I mean, I guess if you project the Pelicans' salary situation 5 years from now, it's Zion and Ingram on max contracts, Lonzo on a pretty good one, and then maybe Drew is still around at that time. I mean, it's not like Drew is old. I think he's 29 or 30, so I would not be surprised if he was still around. Looking at the 5-man unit of Lonzo, Drew, Ingram, Zion, and Derek Favors, in the 17 games and 230 minutes they played together, they were great. Their net rating was plus 20-something. Their defensive rating was in the 90s, like low 90s. They were killing teams with that 5-man group, and I think that should be their starting lineup next season. I think they should definitely re-sign Derek Favors. So based on that, even if it's not the biggest sample size in the world, Pelicans could be a hell of a team next season. And I think Lonzo is a key part in that.